Welcome to Clear Play, powered by Typical Sportsbook, where we cut through the noise to help give you the betting edge. I'm your host, Tony Anderson. And March Madness is finally here. After a wild week of conference tournaments, the men and women's fields are set, and it's time to fill out those brackets. As we all know, March Madness is all about upsets. So let's bring in Caroline Darney, who is the managing editor of Bet for the Win, for our segment, Keys to the Game. Hey Caroline, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Happy March Madness.
Happy March Madness. What are some of your tips that you have for betting March Madness?
So this is always an exciting time of the year, but I want everyone to keep in mind, don't just fall in love with the one seeds. There's usually, I think the average is about 1.65 one seeds make it every year to the Final Four. So keep in mind, if you're looking and you're like constantly want to put money on that one seed, think about that, a lot of times those upsets will happen. So just kind of not in the first round necessarily, doesn't happen as often there, but keep that in mind as you're building out and going further through the bracket. Usually a 12 over a 5 or an 11 over a 6, especially this year. I think there are a lot of really good 11 seeds. And part of that is because usually those are some of the mid-major teams that come in and won their tournament, or you've got a couple of the mid-range Power 6 schools in there. But also keep in mind, sometimes the conference tournament champions struggle a little bit. I think since 2002, there have only been 8 NCAA champions that were also conference tournament champions. And part of that is because maybe some tired legs after having to play several days in a row.
So now, if we aren't supposed to be picking the number 1 seed, who are you looking at to pick for the Final Four? Let's start with the men.
So I'm not staying fully away from 1 seeds. I do have Gonzaga and Arizona making it to the Final Four. But I also have Auburn out of the SEC. I think they've been playing really well, and that Midwest region lines up pretty well for them. And then out of the East, I went a little wild with this one. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I have Purdue in there. I think those are, some teams that have played well, that could create matchup issues.
And what about women's basketball?
So the ladies, I am a little bit more 1 seed heavy on the women's side. I definitely see South Carolina getting there, although they will have to face a potentially very good Iowa team and Caitlin Clark. But I love what Dawn Staley's done down there with South Carolina. I like Stanford to get back. They're looking to repeat. 2 seed UConn, and then I'm going to go with another 2 seed in Baylor on the other side. So I think NC State is a really great team, but they have a really difficult matchup in Bridgeport, Connecticut, about an hour from where UConn is located. So I think that's a really, really tough matchup.
For the men, Caroline, no Duke? I mean, is it not great value in the number 2 seed? Talk to me, how you leave Duke off?
I know there's going to be a lot of emotion, a lot of pressure with it being Coach K's final season. But even if they get past Davidson or Michigan State, you're looking at potentially Texas Tech in that defense, or the run and gun Alabama. And then beyond that, maybe Gonzaga waiting for you. So I just think that they have a really, really tough road. So it's a good value play, but I'm personally staying away from Duke.
I have to disagree with you, Caroline. I mean, you bring very great points to the table. However, I feel like the loss that Duke suffered was very humbling. I believe that they needed that. And I think that they were the favorites, and it turned, and I feel like they were overvalued, and now they're actually undervalued. Weird to say they're undervalued at number 2, but I still feel like Duke is definitely going to come in and make some noise. Who do you have winning it all? Let's start with the men.
I'm going with Gonzaga. I just think that maybe it's this feeling that eventually it has to happen, and why not this year? It does feel a little bit more wide open. There haven't been as many dominating teams.
So my heart is telling me Duke. My head is also telling me Gonzaga. So I'm going with Duke. Foolishly, I'm going with Duke. However, if people are listening, which they are, and putting money on, which they are, I'm not mad at the Zags. I'm going Dukies though. As far as the women's bracket, who do you have taking it all?
Dawn Staley. I'm going South Carolina. They have the talent, they have the coaching, they have it all.
My head is telling me South Carolina is the way to go. My heart is telling me go UConn. So I'm going UConn Duke. Hopefully this doesn't bite me in the behind. We're going to keep this tape, and we're going to see what comes to fruition or not. Okay, now it is time for our segment, Premium Picks. We'll be looking at games to bet on in the first round. So Caroline, a team you may not be so happy to talk about, Virginia Tech. I know you're a huge UVA fan. You went there, you're an alum. And Virginia Tech won the ACC, and They're hot right now. Do you believe they're going to carry that momentum heading into the game against Texas?
This hurts me. This was, Virginia Tech won their first ACC tournament title on my birthday, which is a little tough for my Virginia heart. But I really think this is a team that's coming into the NCAA tournament with so much energy, and they're playing by far the best basketball they have all season. They had a rough start to the ACC schedule, but they're really clicking right now under Mike Young. They've got a really strong core of more senior players. What I like about Virginia Tech in this matchup against Texas is a bit of that momentum. As we said, winning 4 straight. Texas has lost 3 straight. But they shoot the 3 ball really well. And Texas doesn't. And so I worry about Texas's ability to get inside and put up points on players like Keve Aluma, Justin Mutz. And the guards for Virginia Tech are real gritty, real scrappy. So this could be a tough game. The only thing I'd say keep an eye on or hesitate with Virginia Tech about is they played 4 games in 4 days, and that is very difficult heading into the NCAA tournament.
Awesome, Caroline, awesome. What are some other games that you're looking at in this first round?
I really like the San Francisco-Murray State. I think it's a little bit of like a Cinderella Bowl. I think both of these teams have the ability to win a couple games in this tournament. It's really a toss-up for me, but I think I'm going to go with San Francisco. I like the Dons defense. I think that they're really tough to beat, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that one. And the other one I'm keeping an eye on this first round is Iowa and Richmond. It's got all the makings of a typical 12-5 upset, but I actually think I'm going to stick with Iowa here. They've been playing really well right now. I'm going to go with Iowa, but it's one I thought about a little bit. But just keep that in mind when you're making your picks.
Well, thanks so much, Caroline, for stopping by and dropping gems on us per usual. I'm your host, Tony Anderson, signing off for Clear Play. And since March Madness has begun, make sure you go to Tipico and lock in your bets right now.